And I'll make sure all my titles are everybody's names taken care of. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of A Lot of Help. I'm James Lott Jr., your host here on JLJ Media, my online network. So while you are here saying hi to us and looking at us, make sure you go to the channel and subscribe, be kind, subscribe, and check out the channel. I have lots of great people, lots of great shows on here. I started this network a year ago because it was time to have someone of color own a network online. Why not? Why not me? So I decided to do it. And I have a great guest because people who are doing things for themselves and for others. Her resume, I could be reading it until tomorrow. That's how much she's done. It'll be Wednesday by the time I finish her resume. But we're gonna read some. No, you've done some stuff. We're gonna read some of what she's done and talk about other things too. Because I want you to hear some of her impressive credits, because it's no joke, folks. Okay, here we go. She graduated from UC Berkeley, great school, and she also graduated from the University of California Hastings College of Law. Yes, she did. She was the president of the Phi Alpha Theta Law Fraternity. That's right, kids. She was the competitions co-chair for the Western Regional Black Law Students Association. That's some stuff there. Let's go further down. She also was a federal judicial extern for the Honorable Martin J. Jenkins District Court, Northern District. She's worked for several mayors. There's several things she's done with mayors. We'll talk about that also. In 2011, she was a fellow in the Los Angeles African American Public Policy Institute, okay, as well as the Young Lawyers Chair for the Risk Management and Insurance section of the Intellectual Property section of the American Bar Association. I used to work in insurance too. That was one of my
So you know the deal.
I do. She was also appointed by Governor Jerry Brown to the Medical Board of California. It's about diversity in her background going on there. Like I said, there's other things too, but let's talk currently what's she doing. Currently, she is the secretary of the Board of Southern Christian Leadership Conference, Southern California and Chairs of Emerging Leaders Committee. She also is the former chairperson of the board of directors of the Inglewood Airport Area Chamber Conference. I'm in Inglewood. I love my Inglewood. That's where I am. My mother and father used to work for the airport police.
Okay.
They were there. So there. She's also a volunteer lawyer for the Collective of Minority Cannabis Growers in South Los Angeles, as well as a recipient of LA's Most Influential Under 40 Award and the Legacy Award from the Southern Christian Leadership Conference and Second Supervisorial District. Jamie E Wright Esq.
Hey!
That's right, girl. That's a few things. There's more stuff on there.
There's a few highlights. I appreciate it. Listen, I was listening to that going, who was he talking about? Also, me.
You girl, talk about you. Well, okay, so that's the first question I want to ask you, Miss Jamie, is that when you hear collectively, because you're out there just doing it, you're doing it. You're doing the work, like you're not thinking about it as you're doing it. But as you hear it collectively, how does it hit you these days?
I go, how did I manage to get all that done on a calendar in 365 days? That's my funny answer. In all seriousness, the very first thing I think about is yielding honor to the two people that raised me. My father is a disabled veteran from the Army. He grew up in Clarksdale, Mississippi. And so, that's the segregated South. He came here on a segregated bus. My mom is from Riverside. She grew up disenfranchised. Her father was a disabled Army veteran as well. And he was Native American and he could teach. He had a degree from Wilberforce. And when he was asking, could he teach? They said, yeah, you should go teach at the Indian Reservation. So a lot of the things I do and a lot of things that my brother does, who's a professor at FSU, so he has a PhD and a divinity degree and a couple other degrees, is paying homage to the ancestors and the lineage that created our bloodline.
I always say, Jamie, I love you say that. I always say that my ancestors are sitting right here, here.
Yes.
They're my wings to fly.
They are. And knowing the shoulders of, who we stand on, who didn't have the same opportunities. When I hear those things, I say, I hope grandpa is proud of me. I hope dad is proud of me. I hope mom is proud of me. I hope great grandma is proud of me.
Yes, do not forget your ancestry, folks.
Ever.
They worked hard. They worked hard for us to be able to do this right here. This conversation right here, that I have a show and a network that you're able to do, we can sit together. That was a result of hard work
It was. It
Hard
was.
right.
I watched the US versus Billie Holiday, and when she's in her bed and they're trying to record her, she says something very interesting to the FBI agent. She says, "Your grandkids will be singing Strange Fruit." And here we are.
Right.
And his grandkids probably are singing Strange
Right. No,
Fruit.
right. Right.
Yeah. You
But
know,
that symbolism right there is that you don't get this right now, but you don't
yes,
worry, I'll last. Whether
yes,
I'm here or not, it's gonna last.
exactly, exactly. And that's why I do the things that I do.
Oh no, I mean it's like I said, it's very impressive. Were you always a go-getter growing up? Were you always aware? Were you always a person that kind of? Because I know I was. That's why people make fun of me. I had like 10 jobs. I was always that way. I was always a go-getter.
Yeah, I have been, I tell my husband all the time, I've been the same personality for a long time. Let me tell you. So in high school, I didn't think that they were being diverse enough in their lead selections on plays. And I wrote what I called a treatise and I stuck it on the door of some of the
Wow.
classrooms. So anybody's watching who went to high school with me, they never figured out the identity of this person. It was me who wrote that. I had my,
Okay, folks.
I was like, come on, Martin Luther. Here's my thesis.
Yes, exactly.
And I remember being at that point, I remember some of the Black students saying, we feel like we've come a long way. And how could someone say this? And I said, I wonder if those same Black students feel the same way now. Now, especially after the summer of unrest that we just watched in 2020, which looked kind of like 1960 all over again. I think we were comfortable resting on our laurels and some of the privileges we had obtained, not really understanding the bias and the segregation and the white supremacy that sort of envelops us on a day-to-day basis. Now, I know that that sounds, people are tired of hearing that, and I don't use those words all the time, but I think that they do, we can couch them in some of the things that we've seen, but there also have been advancements, and not everything is white supremacy. Some of it is just, ignorance and foolishness, from folks. So not everything's white supremacy, but there are some real factors in our institutions that are.
Yes, no, Jamie, I completely agree with you. And I think, and the thing for me is, I always tell people all the time, is that we did get a little comfortable. I mean, it happens. We were in duress. I would say early 90s, that kind of stuff, 80s, early 90s, and then some things happened. We got a few advancements. Got a few things happen, and then we kind of coast along a little bit. And there's things that were always going on, just not publicized. And now we have phone. Now we got phones, kids. Now we got all kinds of stuff. Now this is stuff that's always been going on, right?
It's always been going on, and we're looking at it live now, as opposed to a recording or hearing that it happened, right? We're also dealing with a new generation of young people between the 18 to 27 who are just like, we're doing this, we're capable, we're going to own our own business, and you can't tell us what to do. And you know what? Screw your institutions. And I think that's fantastic. I would like to see it, have a little more thought sometimes, but I think it's fantastic.
Well, when you're young, girl, when you're young, a lot of times you're just acting on emotion. You're acting on emotion. And that works sometimes.
It sometimes. But I'm sometimes
I like that. No, I'm with you. I hear, and that's sometimes I got what you said. That's hilarious. But I agree with you. But I just know that when we're young, sometimes we just kind of go with emotion and drive. And but we do need some thought behind it. I agree.
We do. And it's funny because I'm a millennial, but I'm at the end of the millennial spectrum. So I'm looking at, the people who are 25, and I'm thinking about me 10 years, the 25-year-old Jamie had these same kind of liberal, doing it, I'm smart, I got it. And then I remember being in the big law firms and them just shutting me down and chipping away at my Blackness and my personality and my, who I was, to try to put me in a box. And so now it's funny that I've been working on my own, all of a sudden these same firms, because it's more popular to be Black, right? Oh, it is,
it is, girl, we're in.
It's a cute thing, right? They now try to recruit me to come in and be a partner. And I told this guy this yesterday, and I said, here's what I want to know about your firm. I said, are you going to make an attempt to control my personhood completely? Because I was like, if that's what it's going to be, I'm not interested. Because some firms do that. I mean, I wasn't really that interested anyway, but
yeah. That's a good question. That's a really good question, though. I think it's funny how we're in right now. I just joke that we're in. It's funny, but it's not funny on some level. It's like not funny,
right?
And I tell people I work in Hollywood. I talk in Hollywood. I said the color is green. The color is green in Hollywood, and it's all about image and optics. And I want to have a black face in front of the studio, but yet they're not really in charge, nothing, or nothing's going on. But we're going to get a black face in front of there and push that black face out there because it might bring us money, prestige, and it'll leave us alone.
I always tell people that Black culture is the most profitable culture on the planet. It makes a lot of companies a lot of money, but it doesn't mean that they necessarily accept us, view us as being a part of their inner circle, and are willing to make sure that some of that money they're making exchanges through Black hands. And the person who I am digging right now is the Coca-Cola General Counsel, because he put out a memo this year that said, hey, guess what? I'm tired of you saying you have diversity and inclusion policies. If I don't see a Black face on this team, I'm either going to cut your fees or I'm not going to use your firm. And I was like, yes.
Okay.
Bravo for taking that affirmative step and not just being the Black face that's the figurehead who's like, I got here. Okay, I'm going to use you because you're, the mythical Dewey, Cheatham and Howe law firm. I'm putting my money where my mouth is, and that's great.
Mm-hmm. I'm a big believer. I started this. I've been in business 14 years, and I started a long time ago, having Black voices, Black talent, Black producers, Black writers on my shows. Regularly. Not just because of Black History Month. That's because whatever. But I was like, make it normal, make it part of your regular routine. And a lot of them, and I know a lot of Black Hollywood, and they'll tell me a lot of these other shows won't have us on because they don't think we're important enough. Think about it for a second, Jamie. Girlfriends. We all know that show. That show was a huge hit for 8 years, 8 seasons. Biggest hit of the WB or UPN or whatever it was back then. CW. They were never invited to a Jay Leno show. They were never invited David Letterman. Like, they were a huge money-making hit show for this network, and they were never invited to the big, like 3 or 4 nightly shows. Think about that for a second. And everyone knows Girlfriend. And Tracee Ellis Ross is huge now. We know who she is, especially.
And that was in the 2000s. We're not talking about ancient history here.
No, we're not.
No,
we're not.
Yeah, I know.
So I think people need to start just doing it as just regular work. When people say to you, Jamie, the law is broken, what is your response to that?
So I look at it kind of twofold. The law was drafted by individuals that didn't include everybody, right? So we were looking at white landowning males. That's who wrote the law. So the application of the law oftentimes is done to benefit them. And when people of color become voices in interpretation, then suddenly there's these changes and alterations. Like what was the guy who influenza becomes a defense to statutes that you all wrote and created. So it's one of those things that, as you can hear, my child has read real life, he's 17. I know, baby, and I'm sorry. I think that's what people mean by a broken system. And then in reform, it's still the same people that are kind of making the reform. So I stopped using the word reform, and I say, if we want to get rid of broken things, we have to have revolution, because revolution gets rid of those systems and creates new ones. If we look at history and what that meant for revolution. So that's what I kind of think it means by broken, that it's not, the equity parity is just not there.
Yeah, that's actually a very smart observation. That makes sense to me. When you say it like that, it makes sense to me. But there are some laws that I do enjoy, and I think they really do benefit. There are some laws that have benefited me in business.
Listen, I hear you.
Good. But you're right. There are some other ones that really aren't as equitable as they could be.
Yeah, absolutely.
So why law for you? Why we're going into law?
So when my dad had a legal services business, and he used to watch me during the day when my mom worked. She worked at a housing authority, and he used to take me and sit me in the back of the courtroom when I was young. So I had very early experience to the courtroom. And then I got to UC Berkeley and I actually wanted to be pre-med. And then I wanted to get a PhD. And then somebody told me, you ain't gonna make any money. So I was like, oh my God, I'm not gonna make any money. So I ended up becoming a lawyer. And it's funny, my brother went and got the PhD, and I oftentimes tell him, I say, I always wonder if the roles have been reversed. You probably have less strife than I do in practice because you're a guy, but that's, the early on exposure to the courtroom and the love for the analysis and the arguments. And, the first year of law school is rigorous and a lot of people don't make it, but I love the challenge and the intellectual stimulation that it provides me. And then the ability to help people be successful in whatever it is that they want to do.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's great. My stepmom went to McGeorge Law School. Okay. So I know. So she did the whole thing. So,
yeah.
Black women law, folks. I love it.
Yeah.
I do love it. Let me ask you, because you're in a fraternity, right? Sorority, or what was it?
I am not one of the fabulous Divine Nine. I missed the mark in undergrad. Okay. My husband is a Divine Nine. He's a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. And he says, well, it's not too late. And I said, I just think it'll be a different experience. So it's not that I'm opposed to it. I am a member of the Links Incorporated. So, that's kind of, Black, they kind of, it's kind of the same. And there's a lot of folks who are in the Divine Nine that are part of that. But the Phi Alpha Delta is a legal fraternity that I was a part of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So being part, so for folks who don't know this, being parts of organizations like this, what does that bring to you?
Sense of community. It can be very lonely when you are, sometimes when you're the only Black person in your office, if you're the only Black person that appears in a courtroom on any given Monday, when you're fighting the good fight. And then for me, I am also political. In a lot of these cases, I was, under 30 when I did a lot of these things, and, now under 40 doing a lot of these things. So it creates community, it creates bonds, mutual understandings, referrals for certain things that are personal, like, things that I may need, where'd you get your lashes done, and where'd you get your, where'd you get your hair done? Or, but in a lot of cases, there's people in high places, the vice president is a member of the Links. That's fantastic, and that's what it creates. It creates community.
I'm gonna say something, okay, folks. She talked about lashes stuff. I'll tell you something. I'm part of a couple associations, and I remember being in, was it Richmond, Virginia or somewhere? And I was like, I need somebody to cut my hair.
Yeah.
Now you know what I'm talking about. I can't have anybody try to touch this. This is like, I need somebody who understands what happens up here, Jamie.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I reached out to my people and my association and the Black members, and they would tell me, go over to West 35th and over here in Midlothian, and there's your shop. I know we're laughing, but it really came in handy knowing a network where I can say, I need my hair did, how do I get it done? And they know exactly where to send me. And I think that's something that's really, it sounds, humorous, but it's also true. I think it's part of it.
And sometimes you just need a space where you can be authentic.
Yes.
Sometimes that is something that you need that, whether it's your sister circle, your brother circle, just a family circle, my church is the same thing. Sometimes when I'm shouting it out, when I used to be able to go, and now when I'm just looking at TV and I'm shouting it out, it's just, sometimes it's a release of like the things that weigh on me as a human.
Mm-hmm. And there's something about being around people where sometimes it's unspoken.
Yes.
I don't have to explain myself in that moment. I have to explain, can let me be the Black voice of America really quick while I'm going through it and explain it to you while I'm going. No, sometimes I just look at you, Jamie, and you go, I get it, James. I get it.
And that's exactly right.
You can exhale, so to speak.
You can do you. And that's priceless sometimes. It really is.
Yes. How do you, because you're out there speaking out and doing things and doing speaking engagements and stuff. How do you protect yourself? Do you protect yourself at all when you go out there? You choose your words carefully?
I am mindful of a couple things. I'm mindful of my personal brand, because with the internet, social media, things pop up 15, 20 years from now. We're seeing that in some of the and
Yes.
some of Joe Biden's or President Biden's nominees. You know, some
Yes.
stuff
Yes.
she tweeted is coming up. It's coming up from
Yes.
years ago.
Yeah.
I'm also mindful of, you know, not only how it makes me feel, but if my son, who is 17 months, looks back and he goes to school, will somebody be able to say, "Yo, mama said this, this, and this," and tease him about it? And I want him to see a reflection of the type of woman, wife that he's attracted to. If I'm out here being raggedy and things, people often tell me I engage in what's called respectability politics. So I'm going to be very narrow with what I say here, so I don't get none of that. If I'm out acting a certain way that is not necessarily pleasing, degrading to myself, degrading to other women, that is not the best version of me. I don't want him to think, yeah, that's the kind of woman I want. I'm attracted to. Because if you bring that type of lady up in my house and you say, "Mom, here you go," and at that point I'm like 50 or 60, I'm gonna say, son, no. So it's for him.
Yeah.
A lot of it is for him, but also for me. So I am mindful of the things
Yeah.
I say. Yeah.
I get that. So am I. How strong is your faith, and how does it work for you?
Faith is unyielding. Okay. I'm a holy roller, honey. I came to Jesus as I was. You know, it's a
Okay.
song.
I know. So I love it. I love it.
But I came to it on my own. My father's a pastor. My family is deeply, ingrained in the church. My aunt and uncle founded churches. Great grandparents, same thing. It was not forced. People often say PK kids are wild. I didn't feel the need to be, because my house was very open.
Okay.
My parents listened to the music I did. We had open and honest conversations about sex, drugs, and alcohol. They watched. I had my first date at 15. My mom dropped me off and sat out there.
Okay. Okay. Go on, girl. Okay.
She watched, and then it was very PC. I remember I was about 14, and there was a little boy who liked me, and his mama brought him over to our house, and we sat on the couch, and my mama and his mama sat in another room and talked.
I like that.
Yeah, so I came to faith because faith is liberating. Christianity is actually liberating. I know there's a lot of people who find it oppressive, but if you actually read what the Word of God says, it's actually liberating. It's very liberating to women. Lydia was a rich, wealthy woman who spread the gospel all over Europe on behalf of Paul. There's a lot of women leaders in the Bible that you see. So I lean into that. It gives me a sense of hope and purpose. It also makes me kinder to other people. So yeah, it's really important to me. Really important.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I'm same here. I mean, it's wonderful. I don't worry as much anymore.
Exactly.
You know what I mean, I know it's going to be taken care of. It's going to be handled. It's going to be handled.
Yeah.
And usually it is.
Yep. And it's like, where is your faith? You can't say, it's like people say, I remember they used to say, the old saints, like, you can't come to the altar, drop it off, and then pick it right back up. You're supposed to take it there and leave it there and then walk away,
Exactly. It's supposed to be with you. It says
with you.
Yeah.
It gives you peace. So, it's a sense of peace.
It does. I agree with you. I totally agree with you on that. I totally agree. I pray every morning. I pray every morning for an hour. Every morning.
Yeah.
I started during the pandemic, especially because I didn't want to go crazy. I was
like, yeah. I did the Daniel fast with my church at the beginning of the year, and it was good. It was interesting, the things that happened during that fast. I said,
yeah. Anything you want to share or no? Like, no.
Just revelation, not anything that's like, juicy necessarily, but just revelation. It was interesting that when you pull off the layers and you're fasting and your focus is on, diving into the word, what can transpire, Yeah.
Now, how have you been? How's your family been during this whole pandemic? It's been almost a year now.
My family or my faith?
Your family, just how you guys.
My family. It's interesting. So, when this first started, we're like, okay, we'll get through this, and then all of a sudden, we're still here. I'll share with you that. So I got COVID. I can't tell you where at the beginning of the year, it was like from the night was fine. That morning I woke up, all of a sudden I couldn't smell anything and I couldn't taste anything. And I said, this is COVID. I cannot tell you where it came from. To this day, I cannot tell you where it came from. But I got over it. My son didn't get it. My husband didn't get it. My mom and dad didn't get it. Sometimes it can be a little challenging being stuck in the house and not being able to get away from someone just to breathe. But we've really worked on some communication tools that I think have been helpful to us in our marriage. we pray a lot. I pray a lot because one of the things that I think about my bishop's wife said on one of the calls we had for the couples was that, as you know, the woman in your house, you can really usher in the spirit in a way that, you know, if you can pray over your house, and I do that regularly.
Yeah.
But you know, taking, you know, the faith part out of it, but just like from a human perspective, we a lot of communication tools now. When we communicate, I try to listen more than I respond. I used to be someone who would like jump down and say, but that's not true. Now I'm like, okay, let me pause.
Yes.
I literally say pause, pause,
Pause.
let me listen, and then let me respond from an empathy perspective, because that's important. Sometimes, you know, brothers just want to be heard. And I, you know, I got one of them and he wants to be heard. You know, and he'll tell me that. He's like, you're not listening. And I'm like, I am listening to you. And he's like, no, you're not. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I probably wasn't really listening.
That's the Jamie, that is real though. Active listening,
Yeah.
listening with compassion. That is a real thing. That's hard for some people.
Yeah.
They're thinking about the next response, thinking about what they're going to say. They're thinking, they're not sitting there going, let me take in what the other person is actually trying to tell me.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you'll really get it once they say what they have to say. They go, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
And women,
that's right.
And women are smart. Once you hear your man.
And you know, for me as a woman, I don't think I appreciated what was going to happen to me post having a baby. And really during that first year, what my body and mind and emotions went through. I don't think there's enough talk about that, and understanding and consideration. And so taking those things in mind as well, because I have a toddler, he's 17 months. So, you know, he was born in September 2019, what that meant for me, and making a transition from being about myself into motherhood and also running a business and doing some of these other things. So, you know, what that means as well.
No, you get okay. First of all, I always say women are the stronger sex. I couldn't have no baby. Oh yes, ask these men have a baby. Oh no, that would not happen. Woo. I couldn't. I'm not that strong. Sorry, I can't do it.
Yeah.
So you got me. So ladies have hormonal changes, physical changes, you know, and then suddenly something you helped create is tethered to you for the most part.
Yeah.
Maybe it's for the most part. And like you said, you have other things going on too at the same time. So you're trying to like, get this going. We got to talk about that. We got to talk about post a baby having. We got to talk about what that's like for women.
That and, you know, some of the health challenges I don't think people really consider for women, sort of like what stress does to our body. You know, I always like to share because I think it's important for women to consider these things. I know I was pregnant again in May. I miscarried in July. I went to my doctor. Lo and behold, I had PCOS. It's polycystic ovarian syndrome, and it was stress induced. So yeah. And when I went to my doctor as of last week, it's gone. I changed my diet. I cut out the stress. I started going to a traditional Chinese medicine doctor who was great for me. Stress, what it can really do to your body. That's something we have to manage better.
I agree. I had a severe case of Bell's palsy a few years ago.
My husband had it right after a trial. Yeah. Did you see your eye was drooping and everything?
Yep.
Stress.
The left side went. It was stress.
It is.
It's a stress silent killer. It is a silent killer.
And we're so busy trying to keep up with the Joneses, and Instagram is driving people crazy because everybody's trying to be famous. Okay. Look, I have friends that are trying to be famous, and I'm kind of confused. And I'm like, but why are you trying to be famous in that way? You know, the more followers we have, we think that our value is somehow attached to that. I think that's incredibly shallow. And I also think it's an unfortunate tragedy of where we're at. Not that followers aren't great, but that shouldn't connect you to your values, to who you are as a person. But while we're trying to do that, we end up stressing ourselves out with everything we're trying to do. You know?
I agree. I am the public eye, and I do know people. Some people do know me, and actually, the more people who know you, it's scarier. Actually, I've had a couple stalker situations back in the past, and you know, and then people say nasty things about you, and so it's like the more you get, you know, popular and you're out there in the public eye, it's not always as cute as you think it is.
People have opinions, so many opinions.
Yes, they do. But you're right. You're stressing out over something because you're trying to be something you think that is. And I found myself going, I just want to work the rest of my life doing something I love doing. Whether I have 1 million people liking me or 10 people liking me, if I can afford to do this the rest of my life, I'm good. I'm like, I'm like helping people, and it's good.
Absolutely. And life is a vapor. And if we understand that you can be here today and gone tomorrow, all the things that you can experience in the fullness of life here, you ain't got to wait till you go to glory.
No.
You can get it right here. And in order to do that, though, you have to be healthy. You have to be in your right mind. Now, some of that could be environmental and it could be genetic, but to the extent that you can manage that through health and wellness, that's really important. Really.
I agree. Yeah. I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
You are amazing. I can talk to you forever. You're amazing.
Thank you.
You really are. And
I'm honest.
You are honest, which I love. So I'm the same way, which I love. And I hope to have you on again and again, and come back to the show anytime. And is there anything you want to promote actually while you're here? Anything you want to promote?
You can just find me online at jamiewrightesq.com. And if you have legal questions, you can always reach out to me. I'm happy to help and give suggestions, recommendations. Yeah, that's where I'm at right now, just building my business.
Yes.
And meeting people like you is fantastic. This has been great, and I've been able to be authentic. I've minced my words, but not so much minced my words. So it's
nice. Yeah. Well, anytime you want to come on, you're welcome back on. Come back on. Anything you want to promote or anything, come back on the show. We'll talk about it.
Oh, you're a dog. Thank you.
Oh, seriously, you're one of the good ones, folks. So Jamie Wright Esquire. So yeah, Jamie Wright Esquire.com. Go there.
JamieWrightESQ.com. Check me out.
And you can follow me at James Lott Jr. all over the place. So everybody, please stay safe and sane and have a great rest of the week. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.